Second round of the college football playoff kicks off on New Year's Day, specifically a night game. Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Georgia Bulldogs. Notre Dame heads into the game as a slight underdog, but a lot of people think they can come out with the victory. Here are four Fighting Irish players that will need to have a big game on Wednesday night to come out on top. Let's talk about them now. Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports, breaking down everything Notre Dame football, getting you all ready for the Sugar Bowl against the Georgia Bulldogs. It's going to be an exciting one, folks. This is a big chance for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to finally get that monkey off their back. Major bowl victory for the first time in about 30 plus years at this point. And this is a potential statement game against an SEC opponent, a team like the Georgia Bulldogs that has dominated college football, has won 2 of the last 3 national championships, has been one of the powers under head coach Kirby Smart. So Notre Dame has a chance to really showcase their talents, and I think it's going to come down to 4 specific players that need to have huge games in this one. On the offensive side of the ball, let's start nowhere else but quarterback Riley Leonard. After a very tough early start to the season, Riley Leonard has been a big catalyst, obviously, for Notre Dame, finishing the regular season at 11-1 and now winning a bowl game, 11 straight victories, and that is a big reason for it, is because Riley Leonard has had the opportunity to get better and play his best football down the stretch. Now, the big reason I think Riley Leonard is most important here, or probably the most important player on both sides of the ball for Notre Dame in this contest, is quite simply, he's a quarterback. And at the end of the day, quarterbacks have the biggest opportunity to either sink or rise the ship versus a really good opponent. And I think the big thing here is that we're going to talk about, and we have been talking now for over a week, the importance for Notre Dame to be able to run the football against a very talented Georgia front seven. Well, in order for Notre Dame to run the football, because I do think that's going to be the biggest difference in this football game, whether Notre Dame can run the football or not offensively, you're going to have some success in the passing game. And I think that Riley Leonard has shown signs, and this passing game has shown signs, although it has still been very inconsistent. If Notre Dame's able to create just a couple chunk plays in the passing game in this one and keep this back four for Georgia honest and have to not just sneak an extra guy into the box, I think Notre Dame offensively is going to be very successful. And then I think the other part about Riley Leonard's game is Georgia hasn't really seen a ton of athletic quarterbacks. In the games that they have, there's been some struggles. You know, you think about just kind of what their season has kind of unfolded for over the course of the season. I do think that a athletic quarterback can put players like Smile Munden, like CJ Allen into conflict a bunch. So being able to utilize his legs as both a scrambler and in the desired running game, because we've seen over the last few weeks, Notre Dame is not utilizing Riley Leonard in the run game as much as far as designed runs. I think that changes against Georgia. I think that we see quarterback run game more early and often, and I think that can loosen up this front seven a good bit. I think the other main catalyst on the offensive side of the football that needs to have a big game, if what I said to start this thing out and Riley Leonard is able to show some semblance of a all-around balanced offense for Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love is the best athlete you have on this team, in my opinion, on both sides of the football. And we have not seen a running back like this at Notre Dame in a very long time. And I believe if you're able to get him into space and get him to the second, third level and have opportunities of one-on-one with the linebackers and the safeties in the open field and maybe an occasional corner off of a screen or something to the flat as a passing game weapon, I think that he is the type of athlete that can create some big plays and really get this Georgia defense off balance. On the defense side of the ball, it comes down to 2 big players for me. One is kind of an obvious one with the big headline, obviously, of Riley Mills, starting defensive tackle, being out for the game and the rest of the playoffs. I think that Howard Cross III is going to be absolutely vital for this game. If you remember going into the Florida State game, Howard Cross was the more productive defensive tackle. Preseason All-American, was playing at a very good level for several games before Florida State. Once he got hurt, that's when Riley Leonard really took over and took the mantle as the top defensive lineman on this team. I think that although it absolutely stinks that Riley Mills will not be available in this game, I do think that we can see something similar to what we saw in that Florida State game. When Howard Cross went down, Riley Mills took over and took his game to another level. I think Howard Cross can pick up some of that slack. I could see him not only just playing his traditional nose position, but I could see him playing some 3-tech as well to take some of that volume off of, obviously, the missed Mills at the 3 technique. So think about Howard Cross moving up and down the defensive line a little bit. He's got to be big. If he's big, and then guys like Gabriel Rubio and Donovan Heinisch can give you good contributions, I think your interior defensive line will be good enough to take down and at least counteract one of the best interior offensive lines in college football. Tate Ratledge now back healthy. You obviously have Jared Wilson at center, who's been a good player in his first year as a starter. And then you got Dylan Fairchild at the other offensive guard spot. That's a good interior, and I think you're going to need guys like Howard Cross to really step up. My last guy on defense is Xavier Watts. He has been the constant. When Howard Cross has been banged up, when Benjamin Morrison went out, there's one constant we can always count on as Notre Dame fans. That's number 0, making some plays on the back end. Now, what Georgia has offensively, their wide receivers are very inconsistent. Arian Smith dropped some passes. Dylan Bell's been a little bit banged up. London Humphreys has been very sporadic as a part-time player. It has not been consistent at wide receiver, but one spot that I think that Notre Dame needs to be prepared for is the tight end position. Guys like Benjamin Yurosek, guys like Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, like they have some really good tight ends. So I think the middle of the field is going to be big in this game. Xavier Watts might have an opportunity to make a couple big plays, and he will need to in order to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Folks, put in your X factors in the comment section. Tell me what players you expect to have a big game. Tell me what players we need as Notre Dame fans to have a big game. We'll talk to y'all throughout the rest of the week, and obviously recapping everything on Wednesday. Let's get into this game. Let's get excited. Let's wake up the Echoes. And as always, go Irish.